I shared with you the other day the launch of our complaint-free coaching program, and I hope you've checked that out as well. But back then, I had someone coach me in getting into shape, and the important thing about that was on a daily basis, I had to check in with him and let him know how I was doing. And I really think it was just that daily accountability. Having someone there to coach you is as much about having someone who's accountable for you. I've noticed that people who go to the gym and hire personal trainers, at least initially for the first few weeks, tend to stay with it a bit longer. And it's not so much because they don't know how to use the equipment, although sometimes that's it. But over time, a short period of time, people figure that out. It's more about having someone there to hold them accountable. So check out Complaint-Free Coaching if you haven't yet. And I want to start talking with you now about our thing for today, and that is the idea of new beginnings. Willow. Well, hello, Willow Drinkwater. I have to acknowledge someone who I don't recall posting before. It's great to hear you, Willow. Great to see from you. You're right. Daily accountability is important. And I want to thank all of you. Like I've said before, thank you for being part of this community. We are building a community of positivity. When the COVID-19 thing kicked, and they began to say that we would possibly be quarantined, that people would be stuck in their homes, I was sitting outside and I asked myself, what can I do to help? And the decision became to go to a live format video every day where people can talk to me, I can talk to them, we are connecting one-on-one. And I'm so grateful that so many of you have continued to be part of this on a daily basis, and that so many of you share this with your friends and family, so that we build a stronger and better and happier and healthier community. All right, so we're going to talk about new beginnings today. And I was thinking about this idea that the COVID quarantine, the changes in our lives, the way schools are going to be, all present opportunities for new beginnings. And that was one of the things I said that, Teddy would remind me to tell you about. I saw in the news this weekend that here in the state of Florida, and it was Brevard County, when the 4th of July rolled around, there was concern because there's a lot of homeless dogs in shelters there in Brevard County. And with all of the fireworks going off, because fireworks are actually considerably louder than gunshots, and dogs whose hearing is so much stronger than ours, approximately 2 to 10 times what ours is, they literally feel physical pain when there is a loud noise. And so what they did was, in an effort to comfort these dogs who were going through true pain and anxiety and upset, they took the dogs over to the Brevard County jail, and the inmates there, and I can never remember if it's inmates, prisoners, anyway, the occupants of the jail, the people who were there, certain ones who had been approved, were allowed to comfort the dogs during the peak firework time. Now, when I read that, because of my big old sensitive heart, I went, oh, what a wonderful idea. And I think it is on multiple levels, because what they're saying is that giving an inmate or something like that, an animal to take care of, even if it's for a short period of time, builds responsibility and also gets that person to focus on someone else other than themselves. And that's often what is needed, is that we need to begin to focus on someone else rather than ourselves. When we focus on ourselves, it's very difficult to have new beginnings. So, as we move through this experience, as we move through this, I wouldn't even call it new normal, because normal has to be something you've settled into. We are not settling into anything right now. We are still just stumbling, I would say, would be a good way of putting it. So, how do we embrace this concept of new beginnings when it seems like there's nothing new and yet everything is simultaneously new? It struck me one day, and I'm not the first person to say this, and we are actually going to talk about this in more detail tomorrow as we consider a beautiful poem, Salutation of the Dawn, to the Dawn, by the Sanskrit poet Kadish, I think was his name. Kadish. Anyway, every day can be a new beginning to the extent that we believe that it is. The interesting thing about sleep, I've read a lot about sleep because I have noticed that one of the main things people can do to have just simply be happier, healthier in every single way in their life is sleep. Get good sleep, So I've read quite a bit about sleep. And the interesting thing about sleep is that people try and figure out what it is and everything. And one of the best understandings, they say, is that it's almost like your brain is a washboard, which is easy to kind of think about when you consider the whirling nature and the wrinkled nature of your brain. That during the day, you've got this washboard and you're living stuff, right? And it's washing down the washboard. It's going down the washboard. The good stuff, the bad stuff, especially the bad stuff. It seems to kind of cling to parts of the washboard. And then while you're sleeping is running water down that washboard, cleaning it, so that we begin anew. The challenge is that we get up and we look at the news first thing, we check our bank balance, we do something to remind us that no, we're not experiencing a new beginning, that this is just a continuation of yesterday, as the old saying goes, same crap, different day. When in reality, the day itself is different. Why? Because it's a totally new present moment. And the thing that constrains you to the past is your beliefs. And remember that a belief is nothing more than you have decided to be true. So if you're facing something, you could look at it and say, wow, this is the same old stuff that I'm going through. Or you could look at it and say, no, this looks and feels very similar. However, I'm a different person today. In fact, I'm a different person today than I was yesterday. I have new beliefs about myself, healthier, happier beliefs about myself, confident beliefs about myself. I believe that I can handle whatever comes my way and simultaneously stay pretty chill about it. I was journaling this morning, and I'm going to do a JumpStart later in the week or early next week on the difference between being calm and being controlled. Now, a person who is easily upsettable, which was me and every single person in my family, a lot of yelling and screaming and blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you could get controlled. In other words, you are not being what is called aggressively angry. That means loud. But it was still inside, which is very, very uncomfortable. The question is, can you handle a situation while remaining calm? I'm not saying that every situation is great. The question is, can you approach a situation and say, this feels and looks the same, but I can take a second and breathe and consider a different outcome and make new choices that are going to bring about the outcome that I desire, and in such, create a new beginning. I think the reason that we have this dichotomous struggle with change, we all want change, but we also fear change, is that we want these new beginnings, and yet we simultaneously feel trapped because we are trapped within our own minds. We limit ourselves as to who we are and what we are, when actually you're expanding, you're growing, you're becoming more every single day. And as a result, you can choose new beginnings. I was preparing for this morning, and as a result, I was thinking, well, this goes back to another JumpStart I did, and this goes back to another JumpStart. Now, hopefully, all of this is interrelated because I really want to help guide you along this path called life so that you feel better about it, enjoy it more, feel more of a victor instead of a victim. And so you need to feel comfortable in change, because if you don't embrace the fact that you are that change is inevitable and ongoing. If change is inevitable and ongoing, then that means you can jump into the movie any frame you choose as any character you choose. Now that may be way too metaphysical, and some of you may be going, whew, and some of you may be going, and that's okay. Either way, the point is we need to embrace that we get new beginnings because new beginnings are constantly happening. And if new beginnings are constantly happening, we get to choose to get in and have a new beginning and not sit around and lament the past. Not sit around and lament is the right word, I guess is the right word. I feel guilty about the past sometimes too. I know that sometimes the hardest thing to forgive is the person that we're looking at the mirror in the mornings, and yet we need to do that as well. Life is always changing. The things around us are always changing on a daily basis. You will see. I was thinking about that. Right before I went on, I was looking at Facebook to make sure everything was cool with us getting together. And somebody had posted this thing about masks. In fact, I think it was Sherry here in our group. And I was reading that and I was thinking, wow, that is so interesting because it gives reasons for, reasons against wearing masks, why people do, why people don't. And the most important thing that I get from this is that initially, no, masks weren't helpful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now masks are absolutely critical and things change. That doesn't mean that we were wrong then, we were misinformed. And just because you made choices in the past that didn't lead to optimal experiences didn't mean that you were wrong or bad. One of the things that's helped me along my path so much, and I say this to myself because I do and say stupid things sometimes, even with the best of intentions. Sometimes things come out of my mouth and I don't even realize it. Somebody may or may not point it out to me. I'm like, whoa, I can't believe that was taken that way or whatever. And the thing is that I get to choose new behavior every day. You get to choose new behavior every day. So you get to choose a new beginning. Choose to take a different tack. You know, that old saying about insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Ask yourself where in your life you might be doing that. And then ask yourself how you can change so that the world around you changes. I always think of George Bailey and It's a Wonderful Life. And, when he was no longer around, when he was no longer a part of people's lives change, and the same is true for you. So that in and of itself proves the impact that we have in small and large ways. So little choice that you make. Today, I choose a new beginning with regard to blank. This idea of having inmates watch or prison corrections people, people in jail, watchdogs, that's a new beginning. That's something that we could think about doing all over the country that could be very transformative. When we're faced with a challenge, we have an opportunity to scurry back to doing it the same old way, or we have an opportunity to deconstruct it and do it differently. I can tell you that in my role as a thought leader, speaker, etc., I'm doing things differently now, and that's actually a very good thing. So look for the new opportunities. If you're looking for new beginnings, remember, you can either wait for things to crack around you, which is often what gets us off the dime to create a new beginning, or you can choose a new beginning and begin to move in that direction. All right, let's take a look and see what some of you have to say before we say goodbye this morning. Daily accountability, as Willow said earlier, is important. Willow says, such a gift you are. Bless you. It's very sweet of you, Willow. Thank you. Ed Wilmot, I can start the day anew. Yes, you can. I can start any moment anew. Yes, you can. And again, every moment is a chance to step forward, stand still, or step back. Step forward, stand still, or step back. Okay? Those are positive ways. Take this in for a second. For, fight, freeze, and flee. So sometimes it makes sense for us to stand up. Sometimes it makes sense for us to stand still and let things pass around us. And sometimes, as Ed says, it's good to step back and let things pass us by. And it takes guidance to know which is the right thing. And I affirm that guidance for you today. I affirm that you begin to sense it, you begin to feel it, you begin to experience it such that it just becomes second nature for you. So one more time before we say goodbye this morning, I want to say thank you to those of you who have shared and continue to share on a daily basis. There's some of you who share every day. Jerome, Shayla does, Patty, a bunch of you. So thank you for that. And so be sure and join me tomorrow. Today we're going to be meditating with Mike Nagy at Lake of the Ozarks. As you can see, it's very beautiful there. And tomorrow we are going to be talking about, I think I mentioned it earlier, and now my mind is not telling me what it is. So I will have an event up. You will see. Join me there. Thank you for sharing this. And most importantly, thank you for sharing your light and your life with all of us. Join us again tomorrow morning. Look forward to seeing you. And for those of you who are watching later or listening to us on podcast or on YouTube, bless you all. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more.